Hello, welcome once again. On this particular topic, we're going to talk about positive discipline. So, we're going to examine some disciplinary situations that violate standards of conduct and discuss the need to confront those situations appropriately. We're going to learn the disciplinary process and approaches that ensure disciplinary action for just cause. We're going to kind of define the application of progressive discipline, and we're going to learn the importance of documenting disciplinary actions and provide the right of appeal. We're also going to take a look at the importance of fairness in the disciplinary process. So, the importance of positive discipline. Discipline is a state of orderliness, the degree to which employees act according to the expected standards of behavior. Positive discipline is a condition that exists when employees generally follow the organization's rules and meet the standards that are required. Culture is a system of shared assumptions, values, and beliefs which governs how the people should behave in the organization. These different shared values have a strong influence on the people in the organization and dictate how they dress, act, and perform their jobs accordingly. Morale is a composite of feelings and attitudes that individuals and groups of workers have toward their work environment. Positive self discipline are employees regulating their behavior out of self interest and self control and their normal desire to meet those reasonable standards. Fostering ethical behavior. First of all, you want to develop ethical codes and policies with major input from teams of employees and supervisors. It's very important you involve your workforce. Establish hotlines or ethics reporting system. Appoint a corporate ombudsman, which we mentioned before is a person who's neutral. Protect your whistleblowers. If you think about it, they're doing you a favor. They're not coming out to harm you. Conflict of interest statements define situations and employee behaviors that are inconsistent with an individual's primary obligation to the employer. An ethical commitment requires everyone in the organization, especially management and supervision, to show daily, by their word and their deed, that behaving ethically at work is not optional. Rules of conduct should inform employees which standards of behavior are expected and which behaviors are unacceptable. The rules of conduct are usually included in an employee handbook and sometimes provided as a separate booklet. They should help the supervisor encourage positive employee self-discipline. When confronting disciplinary situations, and situations that require action are infractions of rules regarding time schedules, rest periods, procedures, safety is a big one, and so forth. Anything doing with excessive absenteeism or tardiness, defective or inadequate work performance, poor attitudes that influence the work of others or damage the firm's public image. Supervisors must be prompt, firm, and impartial in their responses to all disciplinary problems. Be fair, firm, and consistent. Disciplinary action should have just cause. Just cause sets a standard for disciplinary action requiring tests of fairness and elements of normal due process, investigation, providing sufficient evidence, and a penalty commensurate with the nature of the infraction incurred. Precautionary questions and measures. First of all, investigate the situation. Do not take one person's word. Always see both sides. Are all or most of the facts available, and are they reported to you accurately? How serious is the offense? Is it minor, major, or something that's just intolerable? Did the employee know the rule or the standard? What is the employee's disciplinary record so far, the length of service that they've been with you, and performance level? All these come into play as you investigate and decide. And should the employee receive the same treatment others have had for the same offense? And again, the answer to that one is yes. Be consistent. Investigative interviews. Conduct confidential interviews in private and in non-threatening manner. Allow the employee to have a witness present during the interview. Ask both directive and non-directive questions that are designed to elicit specific answers about what happened and why did it happen. Avoid making any final judgments until you have all the interviews and all the facts assembled so you can make a fair and honest determination. During the process, supervisors should maintain self-control at all times, conduct the disciplinary process in a way that respects the disciplined employee's privacy, and the time element. Minor disciplinary offenses are not counted against the employee after a period of time, but serious offenses may require immediate disciplinary action. Practicing progressive discipline. It's a system of disciplinary action that increases the severity of the penalty with each offense. Stages are usually an informal discussion with the employee, an oral warning, including counseling, and make sure you document. A written warning. It may lead to a disciplinary layoff or suspension without pay. It could result in a transfer or demotion, and it might even involve discharge or termination. A sample discipline policy would be a corrective action policy. And the following are some of the guidelines that are recommended for verbal counseling, written suspension, termination, etc. I'm going to leave this up here for you to read for a few minutes. And again, please feel free to pause it and stop so that you can read it in depth. Early stages in the progressive discipline, you should have an informal discussion, determine the reasons for the employee's conduct, ask them why. Maybe they did it accidentally or not knowing that they shouldn't have done that. Reaffirm the employee's responsibility for the behavior and record the date, place, and time of discussion. Again, document. Oral warning, verbal counseling, impress on the employee the necessity for changing behavior. Warn the employee of the consequences of continuing the behavior demonstrated. Notate the warning in the employee's record and issue letter of clarification to the employee in a written format. Always record the counseling session. Oral warnings must be documented. Written warning. Formal document that becomes part of the employee's permanent record, sample down here in the right-hand corner. Reemphasize the necessity for the changing of the behavior to avoid any more serious disciplinary action. Have the employee sign the written warning or note that they refuse to sign if that's what they choose. Advanced stages, the next thing would be a disciplinary layoff. Involve a loss of pay, usually extend from 1 to several days or sometimes weeks. Typically has to be approved by higher level managers after consulting with the Human Resources Department. Transfer is taken when an employee is experiencing difficulty with a supervisor, a job, or associating with certain employees on their work team. And demotion is downgrading an employee to a lower paying job. Should be used only in unusual situations in which disciplinary layoff or discharge is not really a good alternative, or their performance has warranted a demotion. And then finally, discharge, termination. It's the most drastic form of action taken only for the most serious offenses. And again, it's a last resort. You've spent money hiring them, training them, and getting them ready. The last thing you want to do is push them out the door real quickly. Involves loss and waste, training and replacement, and disrupting the makeup and morale of the work group. Could result in grievance and arbitration procedures. Probably won't if you documented it properly. May involve meeting standards for non-discrimination, and is a decision reserved for higher level managers with approval by the HR department. Employment at will is a legal concept that employers can dismiss any of their employees at any time for any reason except for unlawful discrimination or contractual or other restrictions. Allows employees to also terminate their employee relationship at any time for any reason. Is subject to state and federal court exceptions that restrict its application. Doesn't mean that a discharge action should not have a rational basis, be for just or good cause, or for economic basis, layoff or no available work, for example. Employment at will policy. Here's an example from Citizens Bank. I'll leave this for a moment so you can read it. All right. Now let's talk about the hot stove rule. Hot stove rule is a guideline for applying discipline analogous to touching a hot stove in that it gives advance warning, it's red hot, has immediate consequences, it burns when touched, for example, is consistently applied, it burns every time, is implied with impersonality, it burns all who touch it, no discrimination. Advance warning employees must know in advance their expectations as well as their rules and regulations and must be informed clearly that certain acts will lead to disciplinary action. Employees should be required to sign documents stating that they have received, read, and understood the Handbook of Rules and Regulations, and previously unenforced rules can be reinstated once prior notice and warnings are given. Immediacy is disciplinary action should be taken as promptly as possible after the offense. Don't wait too long. Immediate discipline or temporary suspension is required for a serious offense and to provide time to investigate the offense and determine whether or not further action is required. Consistency, appropriate disciplinary action should be taken each time an infraction occurs, no matter who it is. Inconsistent discipline leads to employee anxiety. It actually ruins morale and creates doubt as to what employees can and cannot do. Consistency does not necessarily mean treating everyone in the same manner in all situations. Employees must feel that other employees in the same situation would receive similar treatment. Impersonality. All employees who commit the same or similar offense should be treated fairly in the same way. Penalties should be connected with the offense, not with the offending employee. And making a disciplinary action impersonal reduces the level of resentment felt by the employee. So don't make it personal. No-fault attendance policy is a policy under which unscheduled absences and tardinesses are counted as occurrences, and their accumulation is used in a progressive discipline. It's often preferred by supervisors because they do not have to assess or determine the legitimacy of an employee's unscheduled absence. Records of memoranda, documents, and meetings that relate to a disciplinary action, imperative. You must document. Document oral, written, and everything that is done with discussion with the employee. The employee has a right to appeal, procedures by which an employee may request higher level management to review a supervisor's action. Discipline without punishment. This is a method of using coaching and counseling as preliminary steps and a paid decision-making leave that allows employees to decide whether they want to stay, improve, or quit. The optimal reaction to discipline is acceptance of responsibility for the wrongdoing and thus changing their behavior to the desired standards with no severe side effects. If an employee commits to improving but fails to do so, the employee is terminated. Usually they're given 30 days. It's not fair. Norms. Standards shared by most employees for how one should act and be treated in the organization. Keep it consistent for everyone. Fair treatment. Impartial and appropriate actions taken that are free of favoritism and bias, contingent upon the interactions one has with their supervisor, the procedures used to arrive at the action taken, and obviously the outcomes. People react to unfair treatment in three different ways. One, they fight it. Two, they flight. In other words, they just leave. Or three, they go with the flow. I hope this has helped clarify a few things. Please see the section on employees' rights and discipline. Thank you for watching and have a wonderful day.